Welcome to the driving seat.
Yeah!
I'm sweating like a pig. Like I just went to the gym and trained my legs.
Did you?
Yeah.
I've been going crazy as well.
Yeah?
Like, I think on Friday, I
Uh-huh.
was at my lowest point, not like emotionally or anything. I just went back to like some bad habits, like
Okay.
eating chocolates and pizzas.
Yeah.
In the evening, I just felt like shit, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Just close the day. Tomorrow morning, we're gonna kill ourselves. And I've just
Not
been-
literally, I
no,
hope.
no, like physically.
Not physically either.
Yeah, just like like workout.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
to just make a recovery.
And then you killed it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm not really athletic in the sense I don't go to the gym very often.
Mm-hmm.
So the bar that I have for working out is, well, I have three things which I'm kind of used to now, which is going up and down the stairs. So
Yeah.
you know our 5 floors. I
Uh-huh.
would go from bottom to top, back down like 20 times.
Oh, okay.
Like every morning I would do it,
Uh-huh.
and I'm actually pushing myself, so it's like a good cardio, but
It
also a lot on the legs and the joints.
Yeah.
I'm basically just trying to push myself to the point, like at the gym you just want to throw up at a certain point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to maintain that state.
Well, that's gonna be hard because your bodies are gonna get used to the endorphins.
Is it the endorphins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like a similar thing happens when you take heroin, supposedly,
mhm.
because you get like a shot of endorphins, which upset your stomach, and then it makes you want to throw up. And the
Okay.
first couple of times when you work out, you get a release of those endorphins, similar to heroin, but you also get used to it. Your body says, okay, yeah, I know what this is. I'm not going to get nauseous again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So don't try and push yourself
Alright.
always to that point.
I'm trying to just look for like the uncomfort zone,
Uh-huh.
because after you get out of that, it just always feels good.
Yeah.
But I guess it's got more to do with endorphins than whatever I thought.
Yeah, well, you can still push yourself really hard.
Yeah.
Not necessarily throw up. Okay, so let's. Yeah, we're already talking, of course, but let's give a proper introduction. Welcome to the driving seat. This time in the driving seat, it's Shehr. I actually don't even know your full name.
My full name is Shehryar Siraj.
Siraj. That's your last name,
Last
right?
name, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome.
It's amazing how long we've known each other.
How long do we know each other?
1.5 years, I'd say. Well, since we
No,
were in
longer
the
than
same
that.
building, right?
Yes.
2 years now.
Yeah, 2 years. Because moved in there in May 2019? 2020. Oh, yeah.
The COVID year.
Okay, yeah. May 2020. Yeah, so that's also how we know each other. Also good for people to know, perhaps.
Yep.
I moved to Osdorp together with my younger brother,
Yep.
Siem, and Shehr and his brother.
My younger brother as well.
Yeah, also his younger brother. We became neighbors. Yeah, and that's after that we hit it off. So, Shehr, you're from, where are you from?
I was born in Pakistan,
Uh-huh.
so I am from Pakistan.
Yeah.
I came to the Netherlands 5 years ago to study, and now I'm here.
Nice. So, are there many Pakistani people in the Netherlands to study, actually, that you know?
No, but they all started following me.
Okay.
So the year in which I joined, actually no one in my immediate circle would even think about Holland as a place to study. When you're in like a country like Pakistan, you're usually just thinking
England.
go to the UK,
Right?
US, maybe Australia, for some reason. But yeah, I came to Holland. I actually don't even know why, but it just ended up being such a good.
Because that was going to be my
choice.
question. Like, why
Yeah.
did you pick the Netherlands?
Yeah, like a lot of people asked me in my first year as well, because you don't see that many Indians or Pakistanis. Indians maybe more because there are just a lot more of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point I just kind of knew I wanted to do something in mathematics.
Yeah.
was going through universities like crazy, like those lists of hundreds, top hundreds, something. Eventually, just something stuck about the University of Amsterdam.
Okay, yeah.
And their deadlines were still open for application, so I just did my application, and they said yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's go.
Have they managed to meet your expectations?
The university, yes. Well, and beyond, of course.
I don't know. Is that of course? Yeah.
Well, of course, because when you are as a high schooler, just getting done with your high school,
Yeah.
you have a certain perception of what university is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was not that. Well, there was what I thought the university was going to be, but there were a lot other challenges about being a bachelor student.
Yeah. Because of the curriculum, or because of
just I think my own perception of what university was going to be was very naive.
Okay.
So
you had a reality check.
Yeah, like hard to get disappointed.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a good challenge for 5 years.
Yeah. And now you are done, or?
Yeah, I'm done with my studies.
Okay, cool. And you started working?
Yeah. Funny story. So normally Dutch bachelors last you 3 years.
Yeah.
Econometrics, people say, is one of the more difficult studies. Most people don't finish it in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I never held myself to that standard. I just thought I would always finish it in 3 years.
Yeah.
But actually, roughly around the second year or something, I had a bit of a. I still don't describe it as a breakdown. But there were some differences in my values that I was living as a student, as opposed to my own personal values that I hold about the world. And then I started to rebel in certain ways. I can say these words now in hindsight, but at the moment it was just like, okay,
you were figuring things out.
Yeah, I was figuring things out. Just stop going to class, trying lots of different things, and starting a job was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say there was some sort of clash in values?
I think so.
Yeah. What kind of values were then clashing?
So something which I hold that I believe about myself is that I can be creative in many endeavors, especially when it comes to quantitative type of work.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents always raised me telling me that I was good in math, and I was therefore good in math.
Yeah.
But besides that, I also thought myself that I would enjoy applying quote unquote math in creative ways.
Okay.
That's what attracted me to the university as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what econometrics is. You're trying to model the world, but there are other fields that do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in the second year, I would say it felt like I was following a very rigid curriculum, which didn't really allow me to explore my creative side.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
So that manifested itself in me thinking that maybe I want to start my own business or go work for a startup.
Yeah.
Do something radical. But my ego also told me that I could also go to school and do all these extracurricular activities.
Do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a bit too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't admit that. Like, it wasn't too much in the sense that the rigor was the fun of it, and the rigor was the value that I was looking for, actually. That you can in fact try and manage that kind of chaos where you're trying to well, of course, just study. Mm-hmm. There were still some things interesting about that, going to school, but to try and make the most of your day, that felt quite awesome, even though I was failing at it.
Well, what do you mean you were failing at it?
Failing at it in the sense that I wasn't able to attend all of my classes. Yeah. And I was really struggling to prepare for exams, and I wasn't up for passing most of those exams for a series of courses. And at work, my attention would actually be
also not ideal.
Yeah, no, not. I wasn't always present.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think it was a good age to.
Yeah, I
struggle
think.
like that.
I mean, you are still young. How old are you again?
I think I'm 24.
You
I
have
just
you
I
have to think about that
every
real
time.
hard.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I'm 34, so I'm 10 years older than you are. And I think your 20s is definitely a very good age to fall flat on your face and pick yourself up again.
Yeah.
If you don't get that kind of a life experience at that age, the impact is going to be even bigger when you find out those kind of things at a later age.
That's what I tell myself when I think back of this stuff.
Yeah, that's what you got to tell yourself to make yourself happy, I guess. I mean, that's why I tell myself, even though I still made some major fuck ups in the beginning of my 30s. But now I think I'm there, sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Still open to learn new things, of course.
That's always good. I recently read a book called can't remember the name. Meg Mayer, I think. Let me just look it up real quick
sure.
so I can be sure. It's called The Defining Decade.
The Defining Decade? Okay.
By
I like the alliteration.
Yeah. By Meg J.
Meg J. No, I
It's
haven't heard of it.
It's I think now quite an old book, but I read some recent version.
Mhm.
Amazing book. The author is a psychologist that helped helped lots of 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's the defining decade, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
Help 20-year-olds do lots of whatever psychologists help
Do.
people at that age. I've never met been to a psychologist, so I can't really describe what they do, just what I know from movies. Anyways, her experiences with those 20-year-olds and trying to communicate to them to just calm the heck down, and be a bit more, in some cases, calm down, and then in other cases, trying to help them orient themselves to what their
purpose is,
to the
or?
world, to their purposes, because there are lots of different biological things happening to us in our post-teens.
Of course.
Which make it feel like it's maybe the most confusing time of our lives.
Yeah.
But the author really describes those situations because she has the language.
Yeah.
To really reach out to people who are in their 20s, and I found the book quite relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And you really learn a lot of different things about what's developing in your brain. Actually, it turns out that in your 20s, that's when your brain goes through the last spurt of
growth or the development.
Neurological development.
Okay, yeah.
The last major growth. It can still happen up until then, but between the ages of 20 and 30, you experience something almost as phenomenal as when you were just born.
Okay.
Not really comparable, but that's the next closest thing you can compare it to.
Yeah, okay. I suppose the process is also different, of course, but maybe the impact is also quite big.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think I couldn't compare myself to who I was when I was 20.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is whatever fuck-ups you had in your 20s, they were good.
Yeah.
It's good to have them.
Or maybe now my brain has changed, so I'm set up for a whole new set of fuck-ups. Like,
sure.
Maybe
30 is your defining decade.
No, I think it definitely was my 20s. Okay, cool. So I just also spoke about like puberty, right?
Yeah.
And I think indeed what you said was true for me. For instance, that it was like a chaotic and restless period.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Zeeland, and that's a very specific or particular context because you were born in Pakistan, but is that also where you were a pubescent teenager, or was it somewhere else?
So between ages of 0 and 8, I was in Pakistan, so I did my early preschool, let's say, up until class 3 in Pakistan. Then our family moved to Singapore for about 2 years. Our dad had a job posting there, so he took us along with him. We stayed in Singapore for 2 years, went to their primary schools, between 3 to class 6, roughly. About 2.5 years, we then moved from there to Vietnam. Again, my dad had a different job posting in Vietnam, so we moved along with him. In Vietnam, we lived quite a different lifestyle. We were expatriates. In Singapore, I think we were also expatriates, but
that's more
I was too young
like a city-state of expatriates, I guess, right?
Yeah, but even then, I think we were in quite a nice place.
Okay, yeah. And what did your dad, what kind of a job did he have that he had to move?
He used to work for a multinational pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
As a salesperson, and then following into HR.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we spent about 6 years in Vietnam. I think that's one of the major chunks. So I could maybe describe my childhood in 3 chunks: the first 8, the next 6, 7, and then my right before coming to the Netherlands, I think is my childhood.
Yeah. So when you were 16, 17, 18, that was in.
Let me do the math. Despite being doing econometrics, we're all really bad in math, mental math.
Calculus.
I think it was probably the year in which we moved back to Pakistan from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Completely different world. Because when we left, I say class 3, age 8, same thing. We had a completely different perception of what the world looked like, what Pakistan looked like, actually. Our financial, let's say, standing in the country, it wasn't bad, but it was pretty much like middle class. And then we'd really been thrown through this entire journey of going to Singapore and then falling into Vietnam. Living a very
the high life.
Pretty much the high life. And from there, when we came back to Pakistan, we were definitely on a newer. I think the best way to describe it is just a different class within the society, and we got to see Pakistan from that perspective as well.
Okay.
Which I think is quite unique for me and my siblings.
Yeah. Because how is that different? Can you describe it, or is that?
So mostly monetarily, we're going to now probably the best school in Pakistan, in Karachi, my city. At least. So you have other families who are also within that same class of people who get into the same schools. The kids are just completely different. In Singapore, in early Pakistan, we were in almost public/private schools. They were private schools, but really it felt really cutthroat in school. You had to focus and study, and everyone you were really learning a lot of. You were learning a lot as a child.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean learning a lot? Like a lot of material, or
material.
The rules of the street?
Yeah. No, materials.
Okay.
What I studied in my math class right before leaving for Singapore was still in my science class. Was still usable when I moved to my science class in Vietnam. Imagine the difference.
Okay.
Class 3 to class 6. Okay. What I was learning in class 6 was the same as what I was learning in class 3 in Pakistan.
Okay.
Early Pakistan. And when we come back to Pakistan, let's say later Pakistan, there was this weird phenomenon where we had to adjust to coming back on that level of cutthroatness in studies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But the other students were also quite chill about it because their families were well off. So
They knew they were gonna be all right.
Yeah, and we, yeah, in hindsight, we are all still all right.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in a country like Pakistan, if you are in, I don't know what it's like if you're born in a higher class. I'd still say, by the way, we're maybe still middle class or upper middle class.
Yeah.
There's still like levels above that, but
Yeah.
those people are a lot fewer in the country.
But
yeah, the moment
as
you
per
start,
usual.
yeah, but still we were, I think, higher, easily 1% in Pakistan.
Yeah.
I'd say. You start seeing the world differently because other people see you differently.
Yeah.
Just because you have a different car, you're wearing slightly nicer clothes, you're acting a bit more childish than other people who are maybe more serious about life because they have something to chase after. Whereas we're just chilling.
Yeah.
You really start to feel the difference. It's really awkward trying to connect with like a local.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's interesting. A
this
bit
was
of a weird
childhood.
experience.
I'm still a teen at that point. Luckily.
Yeah.
Because then you're really flexible.
And how is it now when you come back? Is it like a similar experience, or, I mean, I guess when you come back, you want to see your friends or your family. You don't really interact with strangers that much, or
in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Actually, most of our family relatives live in a different city called Multan. Amazing city.
Okay.
Really amazing architecture, historical part. Beautiful place, but my father and my mother are both from that city, and most of their relatives are there as well. So
okay.
Between the periods when we were in Singapore and Vietnam, we came to Pakistan maybe 2 times, I think, that I recall.
Yeah.
And one of those times we didn't even meet our cousins, so it was just our grandma.
Okay.
By that point, I don't think we really had cousins anymore, because there's like, like in anime, there's a jump that happens between, what do they call it, time skip. So it felt like a time skip, but without any character development.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, we don't really. I mean, I like my cousins, but
you're not really in touch.
Yeah, we're out of touch.
Okay.
So me and my siblings were quite adept at making friends now, because we had that sort of jumping around happening.
Yeah, okay, that becomes like a skill that you develop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so, when you are also still young, what age did you come to the Netherlands? 5 years ago. So when you were 19, right?
I was 19. Yes.
Yeah, you were 19.
I'm so glad the math ended up being right.
That's all right. I'll take care of the math as a former English student. No worries. I'm actually pretty good at calculating things in my head.
Yeah, it's really amazing. You studied literature?
English literature,
but
bachelor
you focused
and
on
master's.
syntax.
No, we had both during the bachelor's. So it's the bachelor's is called English Language and Culture. So you learn about the language, so the syntax, but you also learn about the culture.
Which one?
That's the English-speaking world.
Okay.
But it's mostly focused on England.
Got it.
And you learn both syntax, so grammar, and the history of the English language, which is really interesting but really difficult, because not only about the English language but also about other neighboring languages. Because English didn't come just out of itself, of course, right? It comes from Proto-Germanic and then developed, and it has influences from Old Norse and from French, and I recently saw a title of a YouTube video that apparently it also has some influence from Dutch, which I'm interested in, but I don't know how. That would be interesting to check out.
What about water?
No, I think that's just a common root. Water. Yeah. We have a lot of common roots.
In German, it's what? Wasser?
Wasser.
Wasser?
Yeah. Really interesting, but I was mostly interested in literature. So the master's that I did was solely literature. Although, yeah, sometimes I think like syntax would have been interesting as well to go after, because it's more clear cut, right? You know, there's rules, and it's and literature is a bit more chaotic. You can have different interpretations. That's also kind of the appeal, I think. But yeah,
it's still quite a technical study, I would say. Even though you don't really per se have formulas in which you can define what is the story that's being built. I think we had this conversation a few years back.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
How could be?
We were talking about syntax and how there are like so many different variations of delivering a point.
Yeah.
And not one is optimal, but you can still think of it in terms of structures of how you are going to deliver a story or some. Yeah,
of course. There are so Aristotle tried to put down in his Poetics, seminal work from him, like sort of a blueprint. Every good story should adhere to these rules, otherwise it's shit. That's what he said, not literally, but what he described in that book. And one of them is, for instance, that there should be fixed place and time, and there should be a logic and order in that. And then William Shakespeare totally threw that overboard, and that's one of the biggest authors we know. So, but I do think you can deduce certain rules from great works. What do they do? But if you copy it and try to like really frantically enforce such a blueprint into your work, it's gonna fail. You know, it needs to have something else. It needs to have some sort of soul, for lack of a better word. Otherwise, it's just a lifeless thing that's lying before you. So it's difficult.
Yeah, So the point I was getting at was that on the surface, it's not per se exactly technical, but you are still exercising your brain to think about it in terms of components and how those components interact with each other.
Yeah.
And when you look at mathematics, and in fact even pure mathematics, fundamentally what you're doing is something very similar, which is trying to abstract things into components and defining the relations that those components have to each other, and trying to build up rules surrounding, okay, if A equals B, then everything else builds on top of that. It's still in some ways there are similar mental exercises that you're doing.
I think you can also make works of literature formulaic in a certain sense. And I tried to do that once with behavior-driven development, where you have like a condition given, an action, a when, and then a result. And you could apply that, I thought, like to literature as well. Because it's always about a writer describes the background of a story, the given, and then there's an action that drives the plot, and then there's a result, and that's like the end. It's and within that given when then structure, there's more of those. Like there's always sub branches to the story itself that end before the main story line ends. Well, usually, yeah. But getting back to like 19 is quite young. I was 18 when I moved to Amsterdam, and I moved from Zeeland to Amsterdam, which for me was quite a culture shock because I'm from the countryside. And moving to the city, for me, I really felt that was a big jump. But I cannot begin to imagine how it must be to come from Pakistan and then move to the Netherlands. Like, it's quite a different, right? I mean, Pakistan is overly or mostly Muslim, right?
Yes,
And
majority. Large majority.
Yeah, you have a different culture, different language, different type of people, I guess. And then you come here and you have to deal with the directness of the Dutch. And how did you experience that?
Yeah, very directly. It was. I was actually surprised that there was going to be a cultural shock when we moved to Singapore. It was a different world to Pakistan because it's such a refined country and very systematic, and everything is organized.
Yeah.
Then we moved to Vietnam, but we were mostly studying under a British system.
Yeah.
And all of our teachers were from Britain, and really the culture in our school was quite British. Like, it's called the British International School.
Yeah.
So when I was about to come to the Netherlands, I imagined that I've been exposed to Singapore. That's a very well organized, clean, structured country. There are a lot of, let's say, nationalities in Singapore as well.
Yeah.
I've been to Vietnam. I've met quote unquote white people. So I kind of know what
they're like.
What they're like, what their temperaments are.
Yeah.
You catch on to those things. When I came to Holland, I think my very first day, I was going to a viewing, and my phone had run out of battery, and I only had a €50 note with me, and I had to take the tram to get there.
Yeah.
I think I might have actually experienced the whole directness in that one journey. So at first I was obviously I needed to ask direction from people. The first person I asked directions to totally ignored me because I was asking in English, and he kept replying in Dutch, and they were definitely like university students, so they were just fucking with me at that moment. So that made me feel like shit. Anyways, I stood at the tram stop because I can read maps too.
Yeah.
I enter the tram. I don't have a ticket yet, but I have a €50 note.
Yeah.
I asked the lady at the counter that I need I think 1 hour card or something.
Yeah.
I think those are maybe
just
three
one-way
euros.
fare.
Yeah, those are like €3 or maybe even less 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe the same. I don't know.
Now it's now it's 360.
Yeah,
so
now it's 360, something like that.
Yeah.
She actually got mad at me for having a €50 note. She told me to get the hell out.
Seriously?
Yeah. She said, "I'm not opening this note. Please just get off." She kept the door open and
wouldn't drive on.
No, she wouldn't let the tram drive on. She literally kicked me out for having too much money. I was really shocked by that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do? Like, I just look for the closest store, go in there and try and split change. Yeah. I was already feeling awkward. The lady didn't want to split my €50 for some €2 ticket. I went into this shop to split my €50 for less than a €1 Mars bar.
Yeah.
So, now I had change and the chocolate bar.
Well, there's a positive twist at the end.
So the next tram I went into, I got my card.
Yeah.
And I was now a bit shocked that maybe these people don't want to help. There's a lot less eye contact that Dutch people do on the street. In Pakistan, it's almost natural that if you're walking, you're at least matching faces to people.
Okay.
That's actually awkward if you do it in the Netherlands. I can show you someday.
Yeah.
So.
But what do you mean match faces?
So when you're walking, you're really just walking straight, and you're trying to mind your own business. Not just the Netherlands, I think even Germans and British do this. Even in New York, it's been like that. So it's more of a mind your own business and don't try to disturb the other person. But when you're in my shoes at that point, you're thinking that nobody gives a shit about you.
Yes.
And maybe nobody wants to give a shit about you. So it takes a bit of an extra effort
Mhm.
to catch someone's attention for help.
Yeah.
But that's actually the only hurdle.
Mhm.
Because when you ask someone for help, the Dutch are indeed helpful. They really, like, once they understand your situation, they can tell you, you know what, go do this or go
Yeah.
there.
But so in Pakistan, it's much more common to just like look at people on the street when you're walking. Yeah. Just,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It is.
And whereas here, it would like if you would make eye contact with the other sex, it's already like on the brink of flirting.
Is it?
I think so.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
All right. I still didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how long you look, right? I mean.
Oh,
I guess.
I can look.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah. I mean,
my looking muscles are strong.
yeah.
And they can be awkward, so it's really
Mhm.
like I sometimes feel like I have to cage my sights when I'm on the streets here.
Uh-huh.
Even to this day, like it's not something I'll get used to.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think that's actually just in Amsterdam. So maybe it's an urban thing, rather than.
What exactly? That it's interpreted as flirting, or?
No, the no eye contact thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you feel a lot closer. Like, for example, if you go to Den Bosch,
Yeah.
you're just walking, I don't know, random street, random place.
And people greet you.
Yeah, people greet you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm used to. Greeting is actually a bit extra.
Yeah.
But it's nice that they do it, and
Yeah.
then you feel like you're.
No, but I think you're right, because where I'm from, Hulst,
Mhm.
or Nieuw Namen, that's
Mhm.
the smaller place that I went to primary school to, and in Hulst I went to secondary school, which is slightly bigger. Yeah, there you do greet people on the street, especially where I grew up. I knew almost everybody,
Mhm.
and because it's such a small village, so you just say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's common, but I do so as well over here. This is one of the first streets where I sort of know my neighbors a bit better, where we're not living in one building,
Yeah.
right? Because of course we were living in one building, and where I greet the neighbors, like downstairs at the plant shop, or one of the other shop
Mhm,
owners,
mhm.
which is nice. Gives you a bit more of a village feeling inside
Yeah.
the city. Yeah.
As far as culture shocks go, I think that's maybe, as someone coming from Pakistan or a similar background,
Mm-hmm.
that's maybe the first thing that you are immediately taken aback by.
Yeah.
But I think I was just always flexible. That okay, maybe so the world isn't how I think it is.
And you immediately adapt.
I wouldn't say immediately, but I do adapt.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, you're asking someone for something, and if a Dutch person says no, get lost, that's actually him trying to be nice to you, because he's not wasting your time.
Yeah.
Right? So
I guess.
you try and you try and build up these sort of storylines to adjust to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. What I heard, and this is then India, and that's perhaps different than in Pakistan. I work in IT, and there's a lot of companies who work with an offshore, not offshore, but a remote team, and
Yes.
it's often Indian developers.
Yeah.
And they won't say like straight to your face something is not working properly, or they weren't able to do something.
Uh-huh.
They will beat around the bush, and you have to find out that it's not working, which is definitely a culture clash with the Dutch.
How does it make you feel?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I've only heard from this from other people, because I've never worked with such a remote team.
Got it.
So I thought, oh yeah, that's kind of funny, because I can totally see that happening. And that it will clash with the Dutch, because we're like, just be open, just ask for help.
Yes.
If you can't figure it out, there's no shame in it.
Yes.
But at least, yeah.
It's part of the game that we play in our, let's say, our sub societies, where it's so much part of how we interact with each other, that it would actually be rude not to play that game.
Yeah.
I went to Morocco with some Dutch friends,
Uh-huh.
and man, when they realized that the shopkeepers wanted them to haggle, they couldn't comprehend what the hell was happening. Just pissed out of their minds. Like, man. For me, though, coming from a similar background, or
Yeah.
at least
A
we
bit
have
more.
to haggle.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Pakistan for sure. At that moment, I realized, okay, haggling is actually, this is part of the dance,
Yeah.
and you don't have to feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, maybe it's not efficient.
Yeah.
Maybe it's taking up too much time. It's just unnecessary. But the dance of haggling
Uh-huh.
at the end of the game,
It's
you're-
also a
you're-
skill, right?
it's a skill.
Yeah.
But because you engage in that dance,
Mhm.
you are engaging in a conversation where you might actually both leave slightly happier
Yeah.
than if you did in a here's the price, here's the money kind of a situation.
Yeah.
So you let the other person think they're winning. So yeah,
Yeah.
like negotiation, but
Yeah, exactly. But but that's not really the same as beating around the bush, right? Or is there a
it's the
similarity?
same. I think there are some similarities to it.
Okay.
My hypothesis on beating around the bush,
Yeah.
let's say the person would be ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that is the construct with which they're living.
Yeah.
They don't want their peers to think that they are maybe not as good as they have tried to build their image.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's important to them still,
Yeah.
whether it be reasonable to have or not. So if you come across someone where they are beating around the bush, whether you expected them to or not, it's still, you can chalk it off as human nature,
Yeah.
that they want to, there's something about their person that they're trying to protect.
Yeah, they're trying to
Yeah.
retain face,
Yeah,
I guess.
so you can't just hold them and ask them, tell me what the deal is, because then it's a lose scenario for them
Yeah.
purely.
Yeah.
So if
So you have to
can
negotiate
learn
as
to-
well.
Yeah, if you can learn to negotiate, dance,
Yeah.
then you're leaving them in a better position
Yeah.
than they would be if you were holding them down for answers.
You
Yeah.
don't have to be ashamed.
Yeah, you don't have to be. It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Because, yeah, it's not necessarily the natural way of doing it, the way that, let's just take the Dutch as an example. It's not necessarily the natural way to do it. Like, that's really taught and ingrained in our culture.
Yeah.
Like, just do it that way, because then we can figure it out together,
Yeah.
for instance.
It's part of the philosophy.
Yeah, but it also takes a major amount of trust, right? Because if you admit your mistakes immediately, that makes you sort of vulnerable.
Or indoctrination in schools to let you think it's okay to
Yeah.
reveal your vulnerabilities.
Yeah, so other people can exploit them.
Well, yes. Immediately,
perhaps.
the society benefits if everyone starts being vulnerable. So let's say you're indoctrinating people to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
Let's say whoever is controlling the world, they benefit because you're making society efficient by having that trust, however it's built,
yeah.
in being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't be so sure that being trustful
Mm-hmm.
or being vulnerable is inherently the better strategy.
Yeah. Poof. Yeah, the good one.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to figure this out this evening,
No,
I'm afraid.
No, that's
Let's keep it more simple. Nah, I mean, I don't care. I like to dive into these difficult topics as well, of course. That's interesting to think about.
I think I was reading a book. I left it halfway. It
Mhm.
was a commentary on Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
Okay, Nietzsche.
Yeah, Nietzsche's book, but then a guy who was meditating on it, so a lot more simplified, but even that was too difficult for me. But in the first couple of chapters, he was really describing how the European philosophy came to be, or rather that is the story of Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which is
a guy walking around in nature.
Well, a guy who came down from the mountains after a very prolonged hermitage period.
Yeah, it's been a long time ago that I read it.
Yeah, comes down from the mountain to people who he really just cannot recognize, but is able to describe to them. I guess the whole the buzz. That's it. The big banger that everyone remembers is the God is dead. Thing that he says after coming down from the mountains. But that story, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, is actually goes on to describe how when God dies, metaphorically speaking, I think he meant metaphorically, what do in my opinion, Europeans do when God dies for the philosophy that you have around your societies? And the part that I remember was there were three sort of divergences. What do you call? Three directions that it goes into, but not distinctly. They also merge a bit. Roughly speaking, you have the Germans who have the concept of Übermenschen, which means Superman, literally translated, and the Übermenschen is actually. So when God is dead, man or woman is
humans. You can say man for humans.
Are now have the aim of becoming the Superman. The question is, what is the Superman? For the Germans, the Superman is the efficient man. And their ideal is, okay, how can I be efficient with time, in machines, in everything? And to be efficient is the goal. You need something like when you no longer have God, you still
need a new definition, a working theory.
You need a belief system, right? You're not an atheist, right?
I am atheist.
So do you need a belief system?
That's a good question actually, because the other day. So this is a bit of an anecdote. I went to donate blood.
Yes.
And I got into a bit of a chat with some guy. I think he was Indian. And he asked me about my tattoo, which is like a symbol of trust, and also it's like the Trinity from the Celtic Celtic ages, and that is also a divine symbol. So he asked me if I was a spiritual person, and immediately, just sort of automatically, I said no. But then that question has been spooking in my mind ever since. After that, it's like, maybe I am, a bit of a spiritual person, but I don't know really how. Being spiritual and having a belief system is not one and the same thing. But I do think there are certain principles that you should, as a human being, adhere to, because that's just the way the world works. And if you adhere to these principles, your life will be better. If you don't, if you just ignore them and go against them, then your life is going to suck. So, it's not necessarily a belief system, but it's something.
All right.
And yourself? I know you're not atheist.
Well, I'm a Muslim, so I believe in one God. I believe in the final prophet. The whole
shebang. The 40 virgins.
I'm not so sure about that.
Okay.
I don't think that's canon.
No, okay. It's not, So what is canon for the afterlife, actually?
Maybe it is. I'm not too educated.
Well, what does that mean? Like, you have let's say a standardized belief system, or is there a lot you still think about it and you give your own meaning to it within a certain frame?
a bit of everything, but it's definitely good to think about it. It's part of the religion to actually think about it and question it.
Okay.
Th- Primarily, I was raised with those beliefs enforced in certain ways. Well, I say enforced, but really, when you're raising a child, they don't really feel it.
Yeah. Handed down.
Yeah, handed down. And it becomes part of you. Like, for example, we kind of just knew, don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Don't ever drink alcohol.
Uh-huh.
So in my mind, even today, I can't even think about it like
as a possibility.
Yes, it's just simply not possible. And if someone were to bring it in front of me, my mind's gonna blow up in the sense that
what are you doing?
I can't imagine myself drinking it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what will happen if I drink it. It's not that there are stories in my head which tell me something's gonna happen to me. It's just that I'm not supposed to drink alcohol, for example.
Yeah.
But you can question it. I haven't questioned that one. It's too.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't question.
You actually don't know in two ways, right? Because you don't know what it will do in terms of, whatever it means religiously. But also, you've never tried it, so you don't know what it will do to you physically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we have a holy book, which we believe is literally the word of God, like literal word of God, just written down. And from that, there are scholars who have really studied it in depth, along with the language, trying to tell you the interpretation of it. And you can go a long way just from trying to understand what the holy book is saying.
Yeah.
And those build up a part of your belief systems. But at the end of the day, you are still left with the question is there a God there?
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that maybe being part of a Muslim is to have faith that there is a God.
Yeah.
So you can, I don't think I will ever in my life see a physical, actual sign that God exists or God does not exist. Even though as a human, I kind of want to see it, like if I just see a sign, I'll be a believer,
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, but this part of the fun of following a religion is having faith in something that you believe in.
Yeah, something that cannot be empirically proven.
Yeah, and when you see something beautiful, something magnificent, like a sunset or a sunrise, something which just blows you away.
Yeah.
For me, it's a lot easier being a Muslim because then I can say, man, God made that. That's bloody amazing. And that then ends up reinforcing my belief in God.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I have like a placeholder to which I can throw all the amazing things at. And
fair. Yeah, I that's nice, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it helps, I think.
Yeah, because so I grew up in a rural community where we had small classes, but most of the kids were then raised Catholic. So also with the idea of God.
What was that like? What does it mean to be raised Catholic?
Well, so I wasn't raised Catholic.
Okay.
So I was raised non-religious. My parents always said you get to choose whatever you want at any time that you want. But of course, because everybody was believing in God in my class, I was like, oh yeah, maybe that's interesting. But it was more on the same level as that I was also believing in St. Nicholas. And so eventually, I still know when this happened. Actually, I was doing the walks. They have 4 days of walks in the evening after school, and the whole village does that. Walk 4 kilometers, or 5, and then you come back to a bar. And after the 4 days, you get a ribbon.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember that one of these evenings, I peed my pants.
Yes.
And so I went to the bathroom, and I was like, I think it was 7, and I was asking Jesus to please help me. You know, I was crying in a bathroom because I peed my pants.
Yes.
But of course, yeah, nobody came.
All right.
And then I swore like, fuck this shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It left me really bitter. Already at 7, I was like,
Jesus didn't come help you.
Yeah, he didn't come and help me.
All right.
So yeah, I think I stayed in there for quite a bit because my mom was, I think it was my mom there.
Yeah.
My father wasn't there, and she was worried. So yeah, eventually.
What happened when you came out?
Yeah, I don't know. I was ashamed. That I peed my pants, and I was 7. You know, and that's like, yeah, you don't pee your pants anymore at 7 years of age. But I think it was just occupied, and I had to wait too long. I don't know. I don't remember anymore.
Okay.
But I do remember very vividly that I was praying basically.
Yeah.
And I was expecting immediate results.
That's funny.
But I was still interested after that in more the cult of the church and the buildings. I think it's still very, divine. And when I came to the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona and I saw it's divine. When you step into that building, there's no other word for it. It's godly. And so it brought a tear to my eye because it's so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
It's so celestial. As like, this is the way that Gaudi envisioned the house of God, and that's exactly what it is. So yeah, I don't know. There must be mosques that have that same sort of feeling, but that's what I had with Sagrada Familia, for instance. So maybe it's similar to like a sunset or a sunrise.
Yeah, for me it's like every time I see something beautiful, then I know, God's gotta exist.
Yeah.
'Cause who else is gonna make this? Sometimes when I see a really beautiful girl, I'm just like, man, God made that. And it's funny, but it actually reinforces my belief.
Nice.
I'm like, yeah, there's gotta be.
There's gotta be. It cannot be any different. Cannot be any other way.
Cannot be any other way.
Yeah, well, he made ugly girls too. So.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, you don't think about it then. No. So also in terms of like, that's also, I think, radically different between majority of the West. I guess there's still quite religious people also in the West that don't do like the casual dating that I have done, for instance, and many of my peers as well, and those who came after me. But that's different for you, I guess, right?
What is exactly?
Like, so yeah, during the defining decade, part of growing up, at least in the West, is also dating and quite casually trying stuff out, experimenting, also sexually, often. Is that like something you've experienced as well, or is that different?
Yeah. So we don't explore sexually, and it's actually culturally awkward to date.
Yeah.
But it's becoming more normal across Pakistan as well.
Okay.
Partly, I think, mostly from movies, because you start just making a generalization here, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a reasonable statement to make still. It's changing how the culture is surrounding dating. I personally, I don't really date because I don't see what the objective is for it. But I'm also a bit confused when I come to the Netherlands and I see, like, now at this age, all right, people are going out with girls, they're spending nights together. If I'm not dating, how will I ever find someone?
Yeah.
that question is now a lot more on my head
Mhm.
when I'm in this environment, but I'm not exactly too worried about it. I
Okay.
think there's like someone for everybody.
Okay.
When I come across them, something's gonna happen. So it's like,
Is it like also predestined? Like something that is not set in the stars per se,
Yeah.
but
I'm not sure if that comes more religiously or culturally.
Mhm.
I'm trying to stay away from culture and more towards religion.
Yeah.
It feels like it's the safer option because it's very similar to alcohol for me. Like, I don't want to end up in bed with someone that I'm not married to.
Yeah.
It will be like an alcohol scenario. Like, an alcohol scenario would be I drank alcohol willingly.
Yeah.
I would lose it. Like, I don't know who I am anymore.
Mhm.
If I did that willingly, knowingly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have like a total identity crisis.
Yeah.
So similar to alcohol, if I find myself in bed with someone,
Just a random person. Yeah.
random person, even someone I know, if
Yeah.
I'm not married to them, it will be like,
Detrimental.
who am I?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay,
what
what
I've
are the
been-
boundaries again?
what
Can
I've been
someone
telling
repeat?
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost a question I think I'm maybe even avoiding.
Mhm. Yeah. So let's make it into like a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you thought about that, of course. So, but you said at some point, I think I will meet someone, and then you just know. And once you would meet that person, how does the scenario then unfold? Like you take the proper steps, and then you get to know each other, and then you
Yes.
get married, or
Yeah, it's possible to like get to know them. It's okay to chit chat. You know, it's
yeah,
It's I hope.
Yeah.
Goodness, I've been assuming. Yeah, then I suppose the easiest scenario is they're also Muslim.
yeah.
Then we kind of know what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea is that you make the decision to get married. So there aren't like step functions. You're
No.
not first girlfriend and then cohabitating and then marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's really you're living, you meet someone, when you're sure it's right, you marry them.
And how quickly?
It doesn't. There's no such thing. Like, there's no
Okay.
hurry.
Okay.
There's no like time limit. But obviously, if you're chit chatting with someone for 2 years and you don't know what you're doing,
Then it's probably
then it's
not.
definitely not it.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So I guess a heuristic would be the sooner the better. The sooner the more right.
Okay. Yeah. The sooner the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But it's difficult because where do you then meet someone, right? I mean, yeah, where do you meet? Yeah, because I feel like the dating scene last decade has been completely been taken over by apps, or like a big chunk of it.
That's a good thing, by the way.
I guess. I don't know why. Why do you say that?
So in the book, it says that you're supposed to find someone, or rather...
And the book, you mean the Quran?
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Defining decade.
Yeah, it's good to...
So the psychologist, she's read lots of studies about what kind of relationships last longer, and what they find out is relationships last longer between couples that have a much closer match in personality.
Yeah.
So assuming that the big five, I think those are like categories for what type
conscientiousness
of...
and
neuroticism and those big five categories. Assuming those are right, then when people who match on those
parameters,
scales, on those parameters, they end up staying together longer and also happier. So I don't know how they measured happiness, but lots of studies have been done on what makes a good match.
Yeah.
So now that you have these applications, you are really putting yourself out there, and you're being very picky as well about what the other person is like.
Yeah.
So actually,
Well, I'm not sure if people are very picky. I think women are. Men are maybe a little bit less.
Okay. At least someone's picky, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing that I'm leading with is that because you have these dating applications, you get to know a lot more about the person from the get-go than you would if you were to randomly
encounter them.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah.
However you encounter them. And because we now have these dating apps, I think the matches that people who are serious about finding someone, if they're using these dating apps to find people, I think they're going to end up getting or meeting someone who's more likely to be a closer fit in those personality traits.
Yeah.
And assuming correlation is causation.
It's dangerous.
Some very dangerous assumptions here. Well, let's hope the correlation sticks.
Yeah.
All right. Then I think it's going to end up being better.
Okay. But I think there's also to involve Marshall McLuhan, the medium is a message, because there's different relationships, and however serious they are, at your fingertips.
Yep.
Might also make it more fleeting. I think a lot of people also just use it to quickly dip in and out of a relationship or have sexual encounters.
That's up to you, though, right?
Yeah, I guess. But you don't see that immediately from someone's profile.
Yeah, sure.
But I guess people communicate about their intentions a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. They might do that.
You sound like you have quite a bit of experience.
Yeah, I do. Both good and bad. So now, very good. I'm together with Joanna for more than 2.5 years, and I met her through Tinder. But I also met my 2 previous girlfriends through Tinder.
Yeah.
And yeah, they are my previous girlfriends for a reason. So,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure if I can blame Tinder in that case. I mean, it's just a medium. I can mostly just blame myself for not being picky enough or moving too fast with too little information. I think. Yeah. But maybe I would have made the same mistake offline as well. I don't know. Who am I to tell? That's difficult to say.
You should try.
No.
All right.
just for the research. I think that
just for the research.
I don't think that's gonna land well with Joanna. I mean, she is my fiance.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Already for a year.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt to repeat it.
No, it's true. Yeah, but do you feel like you have some sort of a deadline before that time? I want to have be married or.
Well, my parents have a deadline.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. Is there pressure? 4 years ago.
2 years.
Or 2 years ago.
Maybe 4. I don't know what they're thinking. Well, in their backgrounds, it's a lot more common to get married around 20, 22.
Because they got married when they were 20, 23.
My parents got married a bit later in their 30s.
Okay.
My mom was 5 years younger than him, but my dad was definitely already in his 30s.
Okay.
But there were different circumstances for my dad getting married later.
In what sense?
Most of his friends, I think, got married much sooner.
Okay.
His father passed away at an age where he had to really just man up and focus on
maintaining the family.
Okay. Keeping the family together. So I think that took away his attention.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Which I think is why he got married later.
Yeah.
So I think he had slightly different priorities, but most of the people got married earlier. And in hindsight, my parents are now thinking that it probably wouldn't have hurt us if we got married 5 years younger than them.
Yeah.
We would probably be in a similar situation, maybe different man, different woman.
Yeah.
It was an arranged marriage, so for some reason they end up being quite okay in Pakistan.
Is that
I can't imagine it for myself though.
an arranged marriage?
No, I cannot.
Is that still quite common though?
I can. Yes, it is. It is still quite common. Given my upbringing, I can't imagine it for myself. Maybe I've watched too many movies where I'm no longer connected to how Pakistan works.
Yeah.
I can still believe that maybe we go through the arranged marriage system as a mechanism for meeting girls.
Yeah.
But that would be all that I give credit to it for. I would still think that I want to make a decision
Yourself.
Yeah. It's technically always a decision.
Yeah.
Even in arranged marriages, like you still have a decision, but like it's difficult to think in those parameters.
Yeah, it's different, of course. There may be also some pressure not to say no.
I wouldn't feel it, but usually for girls, it's like that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Men are the commodity in a relationship.
Oh yeah.
in Pakistan.
Okay.
So it's like the very first question, like the way it works is you have you watched Indian matchmaking?
Yeah, I've watched the previous season and now Joanna is watching the other season, but not with me. I've seen bits and pieces again, but I know the thing. Yeah.
So there's usually a lady.
Yeah.
That
the matchmaker.
The matchmaker. There are loads in the Netflix show that make it look like
it's just one. Yeah.
But there are ladies and there are classes to those ladies as well. Like some do matches between certain circles.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so usually it's a WhatsApp group. You write up a profile, like a job application, but except for marriage. To this person, she gives you a form that you're actually trying to answer into. What's your salary? Where you're from? Where your parents are from? Which part of India your predecessors came from?
Like a whole profile.
Yes. What kind of sect within the religion you guys are following? What's your height, skin color, send a couple of pictures.
And also
education.
Questions about personality? Like, if is it also...
You know what? Personalities? No.
No?
But I think if they started doing that, it might actually be super effective. But I know why. What these matchmakers, their business proposition is that they will do the matchmaking for you, because the matchmaker actually gets to meet both sides of the family. Yeah. So even though there is no per se profile page which says what my personality is like, the matchmaker has at least met my family and maybe has seen me as well before the process.
Knows a bit about your personality.
Yeah. So she's not really putting it into parameters like the Big Five or Briggs-Meyer, but they are going by feeling on what kind of matches work. So socioeconomic and like personality-wise.
Is there not like a way we can put them out of a job by automating this?
We could, but it's really going against the grain.
Yeah, it's also like, I guess also a cultural tradition to go to a matchmaker and not like enter a profile into a
people are used to it. There are a few apps that are out there in Pakistan for obviously Muslims. There are also some Muslim apps for people who are outside of
I've heard about this.
I've never opened them, so I can't really say. I'm gonna guess that if it's an application, it's very much like Tinder.
By a bit more detailed, I guess.
Yes, a bit more details. And the objective is to get married, not have sex.
Yeah. Potato.
Yeah, sure.
Not to have sex just one time.
Yes. Yeah. Like that's not what it's
I guess.
Used for.
Yeah. But I did hear about this. When I was at the university, there was a girl, Jewish, and she had like Jew date, so it's like so you can meet.
Such a good name.
Yeah,
such a good name. I think you win just by having a good name.
Jew date. I was like, I can't use that app because I'm not a Jew. I was like, fuck. Unless no. But I also recently heard there's like a dating app for Muslims. I don't know if there's one for Christians. There must be. No, absolutely, there has to be one. I don't think it would be big here, but maybe in the States. Yeah.
Are they big on religion in the States?
In the States?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of Christianity in all the different facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Okay,
I
yeah.
assume God was dead for our West.
No. In the West, I think.
Largely.
Yeah, maybe in Europe, but I think in Europe there's also still Serbia, Poland.
I think Italians as well.
Yes, I mean Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
The Spanish as well, I guess.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Some concentrations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like atheism is abundant. Also here in the Netherlands we have like a so-called Bible Belt that runs from Zeeland, where I'm from, but then a little bit more towards the coast, all the way across the country, like diagonally.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's mostly quite strict Protestant pockets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, so you know where to go if you're a Protestant.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's like a you could almost call it the strip, you know. They call it the Bible Belt, but maybe you should call it like the religious strip.
The religious strip.
Yeah.
Might work out.
Yeah. All right, man. I think we talked quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add? Like, oh shit, I wish I said this. No.
I'm a man of few words.
I think people might differ, but we'll leave it up to them to judge.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Shehr.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Okay, let's
cut it.
Yeah, let's cut it.